So yesterday Barcelona tied against Athletic Club 0-0. And you know what was worse than to see Barcelona tie against Athletic Club? It was the fact that Barcelona lost two very important players, Pedri and Frenkie de Jong. As for the latest regarding these two players, it says here according to Xavi Miguel that Pedri will be out for around 5 to 6 weeks. His participation in the Clásico on the 21st of April is in serious doubt. As for Frenkie, it says that Frenkie de Jong will be out for about 4 to 5 weeks. It is too early to exactly predict his return, but it could be on the 14th of April versus Cádiz. So we know this whole game, we know exactly how this is going to go down. They're going to be saying Pedri is going to be out for about 5 to 6 weeks, but in the end, he's going to be out for like 6 to 8 weeks. It always does get extended. I don't know why, but it is what it is. The same thing could go with Frenkie de Jong. Even though they say 4 to 5 weeks, it could be 6 to 8 weeks. But it's just the fact that in these next 5 to 8 matches, Barcelona is going to be without Pedri and Frenkie, two very important players. Xavi is already out, Balde is also already out, but to lose Pedri and Frenkie, one of our most technical players, that is so alarming. And so I think that moving forward, one of the players that is going to have to take responsibility in the middle of the pitch, it is Gundogan. And Gundogan is 33 years old. And so I hope that he doesn't get injured, because so at this point, I feel like we're overusing Gundogan. And I do hope that Gundogan does not get injured anytime soon, because that would be for sure the death of Barcelona. But we are all relying on him, whether he's going to be playing as a 6 or a number 8. And that is going to be one of the questions that Xavi Hernandez is going to have to answer. How is he going to be tackling these next couple of games with just Gundogan taking the full creative responsibility? He can go in two different ways. Point number 1 will be about Oriol Romeu and Christensen forming the double pivot position with Gundogan as an 8. And I know it sounds sad to see Romeu and Christensen as our double pivot. Is just like who is going to go up there and attack? Who's going to be the second highest midfielder to accompany Gundogan? Honestly, just thinking about that makes me depressed, because Oriol Romeu does not have the level, and Andreas Christensen, even though he does have the level, he's not truly a central defensive midfielder. Like he did not devote himself to that position. So it's so sad to see in the situation that Xavi is in. But the other alternative that Xavi Hernandez could go through is to have Gundogan and Christensen forming the double pivot with Fermin Lopez as the number 8. And again, both ways get me very nervous, because with Fermin Lopez, I don't know if he has the creative output to become our number 8. Like, yes, Fermin Lopez is a great player, but if you take away Gundogan from the number 8 position, you're losing a lot of creative output up top, because you cannot compare Fermin Lopez and Gundogan in terms of finding those key passes. But now I do want to shift my focus to Pedri, because that is the main reason why I'm even making this video. Now that I do have this foundation that I have set up, it's time to talk about Pedri. And I made a video not too long ago speaking about Barcelona's core group of players. You guys can go find that on my YouTube channel. I did post about 2 or 3 days ago. And the reason why I made that video is because I wanted to point out the future of this club, meaning I wanted Barcelona to focus on building these players to allow us to go into a great path later down the road. I also said that I believe that Barcelona should still be buying world-class players within these next 3 to 4 years as we're building those core group of players like Frenkie, Balde, Pedri, Xavi, Cubarsí, Lamine Yamal, etc. That was literally what we were talking about, is to focus on the youth to make sure that they become the best players that they can be. But for some reason, many people were assuming that I also said that these players are ready and that they're world class, like Pedri, Xavi, Lamine Yamal, Cubarsí, and so forth. That is why when we got to that game between Barcelona and Athletic Club and those young players did not show up, many were saying, Kevin, what happened? What happened with all of these youngsters that you were talking about? And that was never the point. The point was we needed to focus on these core group of players to develop them in the very best way possible. The coaches and the directors know this. They know that these players are not world-class top-level players yet. Yes, they're good for their age, but they're not world-class players, like world beaters. They can't carry Barcelona to La Liga title or to the Champions League alone. They need those veteran players. They need also great depth in case those youth players either get injured or they cannot perform. That is the only way Barcelona can get far in the short term. And so when we saw those young players participate in the match against Athletic Club and we tied 0-0, even though that was not like the worst scoreline at San Mamés, many people were throwing comments and tantrums on these young players, and that is not going to be helping. It's only going to further put down Barcelona's current current situation. And it's also proving the point on why Xavi Hernandez is leaving in the summer, is because there is no room for error, no room to grow. Every time the coach brings in poor results, many do say Xavi's the worst, Xavi needs to get out, Xavi is just an imposter. Or when a player puts out bad performances, they say sell him, he needs to leave, he's finished. This player from Real Madrid is better than this player, he needs to get out. Like, I remember everybody was rating Fermin Lopez so highly against Getafe because he scored a goal, he was pressing well, they called him the mini Gavi. But then fast forward 8 days later against Athletic Club, now many are saying Fermin Lopez is not good enough, he has no level. Then you have Barcelona fans on Twitter saying that Fermin Lopez does not have the level to make it at Barcelona. It is just too much negativity, and it's embarrassing to know that most of that negativity comes from Barcelona's own fan base. Now, going back to Pedri, many of us, and especially for me, did not expect to see Pedri at such a world-class level today. He can reach the world-class level and become one of the best midfielders in the world, but the problem is not that he can't deliver now. The problem is we can't improve him today because he only gets re-injured. That is the problem. It's okay for him not to reach Kevin De Bruyne's level. That's okay. If he cannot do that, that's fine. He's still 21 years old. It's just that the fact that we can't work on him today in order for him to become Kevin De Bruyne's level in the future is what worries everybody, and especially for me. Like with Frankie de Jong, this is his first injury since September. That lasted about 2 months. So with Frankie, it's okay. Of course, he was going to get injured again because all players eventually do get re-injured. It's just the frequency is what matters. And Frankie barely does get injured. With Gavi, he has only had one very serious injury, and unfortunately, it had to take him out for about 9 months. But in the end, Gavi only has one injury so far, and that's okay. Moving forward, he's gonna have to take care of himself. But for Pedri, he gets like 3 injuries per season. In the season that we're in today, he's on his 3rd injury. The one before this one, he had 2 injuries, and the one before that one, he had 3 injuries. And in total, if you look at these numbers here, he has missed so many games that could have been used for him to develop and further his game. That, again, is the problem. It's not the fact that he cannot perform at a world-class level and become the best midfielder in the world. It's just the fact that we can't build him or mold him in the way that we want because his body simply just does not allow it. And at this point, you know, like every time we do assess Pedri's game, he just does not look the same. Like he looks scared to run or scared to press. Every time he tries to make a pass, he takes his time. When he tries to run into the box, he looks so slow. Like, why does Gundogan, someone who is 33 years old, run faster than Pedri? Like, Pedri looks like he's functioning in slow motion. If you go look at the other players out there in Europe and players who play in Pedri's position, you can see just how slow Pedri is. Like, go look at Musiala, go look at Florian Wirtz, go look at Bellingham, go look at Kevin De Bruyne, who's like 34 years old. They are all faster than Pedri in terms of like body movement in general. And so the conclusion that I do have with Pedri is this: he's fragile. And I do believe that this is a huge signal to Joan Laporta and Deco. A signal that does say, you need to sign a world-class central midfielder in the summer. We can no longer say that Barcelona only have to focus on the pivot position and the left-wing position. I do believe that Barcelona have to sign a world-class central midfielder. Yes, we know that Pedri and Gavi are eventually going to be back by next season, but someone like Pedri is not guaranteed. Gundogan will be 34 years old. We can't continue to use him in every match, even though I think that he could, and he believes that he can. It's just not healthy. Even with Fermin Lopez is good, but he's not world class. And let me tell you guys another thing. Pressing an opponent very well and being a creative key pass killer are two very different things. Pressing and key passing are two, again, very, very different things. Fermin Lopez is the first one. He is the one that is a pressing monster. He knows how to recover the ball very well, and he knows how to make those runs into the box. He's a very different profile. Fermin Lopez is not a key pass killer. He's not a Kevin De Bruyne. And what Barcelona need right now is a creative number 8. And one of the players that do come into mind is Florian Wirtz. I don't know if this player wants to come to Barcelona, but let me tell you, if Hansi Flick comes in, you better bet that he's going to be calling someone like Florian Wirtz. And I remember Xavi Hernandez eyeing Florian Wirtz last summer, but then Javier Tebas said, no, chill out. Like, you guys are not allowed to spend anything. The only thing you guys are allowed to spend is 3 million euros in total, and that's it. You guys cannot spend no more. So we're like, okay, fine. There he goes, out the window. Musiala is also another option, but I think that he's going to be going to Manchester City, and he's also greatly admired by Pep Guardiola, so I don't think that he'll be going to FC Barcelona. Even though he'll be a great option, maybe Hansi Flick could change his opinion if Flick does become the coach of Barcelona, but again, we'll see. Another player could be Lo Celso. Lo Celso was actually supposed to come back in January 2020 2024 during the winter transfer window. I don't know if you guys remember, but Barcelona were able to use 80% of Gavi's salary because Gavi was out for the rest of the season. They could have used that 80% to bring in Lo Celso, but for some reason, again, Javier Tebas said even 80% of Gavi's salary is not going to be enough to afford Lo Celso and his salary. You guys cannot bring Lo Celso and you guys cannot bring a reinforcement for Gavi. So could we see Lo Celso finally come in the summer? Again, we'll see. We don't know the plans of Barcelona as of yet. Everything is going to be changing once Xavi Hernandez does leave the club. But like I have said before, it is important to know that Barcelona must sign another great world-class central midfielder. One of the debates that people were having in the community tabs on my YouTube channel, I posted something and I said that we're going to have to talk about Pedri. And there were many people saying and suggesting that Pedri should be sold. Now look, if Barcelona ever decide to sell Pedri, many clubs would be willing to sign him for like 100 million euros. It's very much possible due to his age, his contract, his trajectory, his brand. I know that his injuries is a problem and it does decrease his value, but if you get the Premier League clubs to come in and bring offers for Pedri, you would definitely reach 100 million euros. I also believe that these clubs will be convinced that they could change Pedri's career around and say that we can take well care of Pedri health-wise. So that would be easy. 100 million euros for Pedri would be an easy money grab. That would also help Barcelona sign many players in this summer. But here's the thing. I don't believe that Barcelona would sell Pedri. There's just no way. This was also never the conversation for today's video. I never ever not once thought about selling Pedri, even after the injury that he did encounter against Athletic Club. I just believe that Pedri should be taking a step down at Barcelona in the future. Yes, continue to develop him, but not use him so much. And it's not going to be hurting Barcelona. It's not like the club paid 70 million euros for Pedri. We paid very little, so it's not going to be hurting us. I just think that Pedri must take the step down. Barcelona should be signing a creative world-class number 8, and next season it should look something like this. We should be signing our pivot with Frankie paired with whoever that next pivot is going to be, and then Gundogan as the number 8. Gundogan for me should still be starting next season. I don't necessarily think that he should be completing 90-minute matches every weekend or 2 times a week. I just believe that Gundogan for sure should be starting and solidify every win, because to me he is a captain, he's a leader, and I think that if you compare Gundogan's mentality with all of the other players that Barcelona have, Gundogan is just something else. I remember him speaking about Pedri and Frankie de Jong, and this is what he said: we lost 2 players who bring qualities to the pitch that other players don't bring, but we are Barcelona and we have the responsibility to win with whoever is on the pitch. And to me, like, when I heard that, I'm like, dude, this is the reason why you're going to be starting next season. This is going to be the reason why we're also counting on you this season. And to me, it just seems like you're not settling down for anything less than excellence. And I love that. So to me, Gundogan starts next season, no matter what, and playing with Frankie and our next pivot. Gavi can be used as like a rotator to rotate between either whoever the next pivot is going to be or the number 8, which is Gundogan. And then we can use our brand new number 8. Again, we don't know who it's going to be, and to rotate also with Gundogan, with Gavi, etc. It's going to be extremely healthy. Pedri would simply become the 4th to 5th option. I know that it seems like there was just no point to keep Pedri at that point, but quality depth is going to be needed. Everybody wins in this situation. Pedri gets rested much more next season, and he'll play his 20 to 25 minutes, gain his confidence back very slowly, and then by the time we end the next season, Gundogan can take the step down and Pedri can go into his position at that time. But right now, for this season and the next one, Gundogan starter, we need a new number 8. Gavi will be rotating easily throughout that midfield, and Pedri would be taking the step down. It's just simply how it should go. There is no other way, because you cannot convince me and say that that's going to be too many players, Kevin. Like, you think that we can sign a new pivot, a new number 8? What is wrong with you? How is everybody going to be getting game time? But again, you can't convince me after what we have just witnessed this season. Frankie, Gavi, Pedri are out. 3 midfielders. 3. And you still want to say that this game plan is too much and that we have too many midfielders? No. Like, no. Gundogan's health next season is also not even guaranteed. So Barcelona have to take on the correct measures. And they have to work so hard in this summer to make sure that we are completely covered in every area of the pitch. So that is going to be wrapping up today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.